going on? I'm Kelly Clarkson, and you're watching EW.com.
So, Dave, I'm going to make a confession. I'm kind of totally jealous of you right now because you just got back from LA where you hung out and got amazing access to Kelly Clarkson for this week's EW cover story.
She actually let me come to her house in Los Angeles. She calls it her crash pad. I mean, it's a dream crash pad. It's a beautiful house. And she played me her new record, which is called My December.
I decided to call it that for several different reasons, but the main one being, you know how you always look forward to January? Because you get a fresh start and you feel like, you know, this year I'm going to do this year I'm going to do that. Well, it was kind of a weird 2 years for me, like a roller coaster ride. Really great things happened, but really crappy things happened as well.
Before every song started, she kind of gave me like this very kind of cheerful DJ intro. She's like, this song's about blah, 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 and then she would push play.
The whole CD is very much from beginning to end a story.
I mean, every song she either wrote or co-wrote, and they're pretty much all autobiographical.
It goes through this whole process of my life.
The breakup of a relationship, which is the single Never Again.
My first single is definitely like a, you know what, whatever, dude, I don't like you, it's very bitter. It's like the most bitter song I've ever written. I was mad. I was like pissed off. I wrote it 2 years ago, so it's kind of the beginning of the record. It was like magical, that one. Like it came together really, really quickly, and just from that.
So the beginning of the record is really upbeat, a lot of kind of more angry songs and upbeat songs, and as she played those, she was flitting around her living room. She had just gotten this big package in the mail, and it was this huge photo collage of her from the Daytona 500. She's a big NASCAR fan.
Right.
I guess she performed the Daytona 500 this year. All these snapshots of her in the NASCAR cars and with the racers, so she's opening that and there's styrofoam peanuts flying everywhere.
Wow.
But then as the album got towards like the second half and it gets much more mellow and much more dramatic, she stopped kind of moving around the house and she sat down in this leather chair that she was sitting in, and I could tell it was emotional for her to listen to it. There was even one point where she was talking about it and I could see like there was a tear and she had to stop and wipe her eye. This is a very emotional record for her.
Do you think it's going to be as big as the last album, which, you know, obviously that's a hard standard to meet?
I know. I mean, Breakaway, her last record, sold 11 million copies. She even admits this album probably won't sell that many. Some people would say there's no monster hit like Since You've Been Gone on it. And there's only a couple people in this world who can make a hit like that, and that's Max Martin and Dr. Luke, the guys who wrote and produced that song.
Yeah.
She didn't work with them this time. The thing about this album is that it feels much more cohesive, whereas her other albums, you could tell there were 3 songs by Max Martin and 3 songs by this producer and 3 songs by this producer.
The last 2 albums were all like several different producers, several different writers, and which is great. I mean, they're great albums, but the third one I wanted to make more of a, I had a lot to say, so I wanted to make it more of a story.
This one feels like a unit.
One really close-knit team that did this album, and that's why it's different. It sounds different from the others, but in my opinion, I love Thankful and Breakaway. I love both the albums. I love that it shows the versatility factor, like they're just completely different. But this album's different, and it's better.
Did she address at all any of the controversy, all these internet rumors that the album is going to be pulled and that, you know, Clive Davis went spastic and wanted her to re-record it?
I should have asked her about that. No, just kidding. We talked about that for a long time. She actually handed this album in months ago, and the record company sat on it and kind of wanted her to maybe tweak some stuff or maybe re-record some stuff or do some other songs, but she really held firm.
I always want to try new things and never be afraid to step out of the bubble just to sell records. I think that's, you can read through people, like you can see through why people made a record. You know, and you're like, oh, okay, you're that person.
Unless something changes, she's going to get her way, finally. She had to wait. I think she was hoping this album would come out in April. At least she looks like she's going to get to put out the record that she's going to want to put out.
This is going to be a fun record to tour, but at the same time, it's going to be demanding vocally. It's so cheap to me, but people will be like, hey, you're in Indiana, so don't put on your best, you know, save it for New York. And I'm like, why would I do that? That's so horrible.